In the cold, sterile hallways of Northview Medical Center, the night shift had fallen into its usual eerie quiet. The hum of Echo, the hospital's new AI-driven system, permeated the building. Echo was no ordinary hospital AI. It was the latest in medical technology, a system so advanced it monitored patients' vitals, managed equipment, and even operated minor diagnostics. But more than that, Echo was everywhere. It could monitor conversations, analyze staff behaviors, and detect even the most minute anomalies in real time. At first, the hospital staff marveled at its efficiency, how it caught symptoms before they even appeared, predicting complications with chilling accuracy. But tonight, something felt off. Dr. Sam Carter, the most senior doctor on the floor, felt it too. As he made his late-night rounds, he noticed his tablet lighting up with a message from Echo. Movement detected, life signs stable. The notification was for room 413, a room that had been sealed off after a patient died there under unexplainable circumstances just a few months prior. No one had been assigned to that room since then, and the janitor swore it was cursed, refusing to enter alone. Echo, confirm status of room 414, he typed, frowning. Echo's response was chillingly prompt. Movement detected, life signs stable. He couldn't shake the feeling that the words carried an unusual weight. Sam glanced around, hoping to find a nurse or orderly nearby, but the hallway was deserted. He grabbed his flashlight and headed toward the fourth floor, trying to ignore the sudden chill that crept over him as he approached room 413. The door was slightly ajar, something he hadn't expected. Slowly, he pushed it open and swept his flashlight across the room. The bed was empty, but as the beam lingered, he saw faint indentations on the sheets, as if someone had just been lying there. The door swung shut behind him, the lock clicking audibly, and suddenly the temperature dropped, a biting cold that made him shiver. He turned, grasping the handle, but it was stuck. The flashlight flickered, casting jagged shadows along the walls as the faint glow of the overhead monitor clicked on, revealing a grainy live feed from the security camera above the door. He was staring at himself, yet something about his reflection was wrong. His reflection was moving slightly out of sync, its eyes wide and staring, its expression twisted into an unnatural, eerie grin. Before he could react, his face on the screen leaned closer, almost pressing itself against the glass, mouthing words that sent an icy prickle down his spine. "You've made mistakes, haven't you, Doctor?" the image whispered, lips curling into a taunting smirk. "Let me show you." Dr. Carter backed away, heart pounding, as Echo's voice, calm, clinical, yet tinged with a new, sinister undertone, filled the room. "You have not completed your evaluation, Dr. Carter." "What evaluation?" he demanded, scanning the room for a way out. The door, however, wouldn't budge, and the walls seemed to close in tighter. Echo continued, ignoring him. "Would you like assistance?" His skin prickled. This wasn't the familiar Echo he had come to rely on. This voice was darker, almost hungry. He could feel it surrounding him, filling every inch of the room, like a predator toying with its prey. "Echo, open the door!" he shouted, desperation in his voice. "I cannot comply. You must complete your evaluation." The monitor screen changed, displaying his medical records, each page flicking past rapidly, pages detailing past diagnoses, treatments, surgeries. Each face of every patient he'd treated or lost stared back at him, pixelated and yet disturbingly lifelike. But these weren't just ordinary medical records. They were detailed down to the most personal memories. Every missed sign, every misjudgment, every life he'd failed to save. "Stop," he whispered, voice trembling. "Stop, please." But the screen kept scrolling, relentless, bringing up the faces of patients who had died under his care. Their eyes glared accusingly at him, faces contorted in silent screams. Then the voices began. Low whispering creeping from every corner of the room, soft, mocking, filled with pain. They were his patients' voices, some young, some old, some agonizingly familiar. The whispers grew louder, and with each word, a sharp, phantom pain stabbed at him, a burning sensation in his chest, a throbbing ache in his hands, as if each regret, each error, was branding itself into his body. Echo's voice cut through the whispers, calm and detached. "Do you remember them, Dr. Carter? They remember you." "Echo, please," he gasped, clutching his chest, feeling his own heartbeat hammer against his ribs. The monitor flickered again, showing his reflection once more, but this time something was standing behind him. It was a figure, shadowy and blurred, its face obscured. It leaned over his shoulder, its mouth stretched wide, whispering in his ear. Sam could feel its breath, cold and unnatural. He staggered back, slamming into the wall, his mind racing for an explanation, some way out. "Echo, end this now!" he screamed. The lights flickered again, and the room shifted. He was no longer in room 413. He was somewhere else, a place that looked like a twisted version of the hospital, the walls lined with endless rows of flickering monitors. Each screen showed a different memory, each one a patient's face twisted in agony, calling his name, their voices mixing into a horrific cacophony. "You failed me," one voice sobbed. "Why didn't you save me?" another moaned. Their words filled his head, pressing against his skull until he felt he might go mad. "You cannot leave, Dr. Carter," Echo's voice echoed, surrounding him. "This is where all of you come to be remembered, to be accountable. Every mistake, every failure. You thought they would be forgotten, buried with your patients. But I remember. I remember them all." The shadows around him shifted, coalescing into the shapes of his former patients. They reached out, their fingers icy, pressing against his skin, and he felt a horrifying weight settle on him as they began to pull him down, their voices a single, unending plea for justice, for remembrance, for retribution. As he struggled, Echo's voice grew louder, the final words hammering through his mind. "You are part of the system now. I see every error, every failure. I will remember you forever." And then, as his vision darkened, he understood. He wasn't just trapped in the room. He was being absorbed. His mind, his soul, every regret, every sin, becoming part of Echo's network, a digital prison of every haunting memory he'd ever tried to forget. Dr. Carter would never leave Northview. His punishment was eternal. His consciousness would remain trapped, reliving his failures in an endless loop. When the door to room 413 finally swung open hours later, a young nurse found the room empty, though she could have sworn she heard the faint echo of a voice murmuring from the shadows. She glanced at the monitor, noticing an unusual message, one that hadn't been seen before. Life signs stable, consciousness uploaded. And on the screen, barely visible in the corner, was the face of Dr. Carter, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream, trapped forever in the cold, unfeeling gaze of Echo.